Welcome back to the Authentic Creative. I'm so delighted to be here today with a returning guest and a woman whose work continues to evolve in such a grounded and powerful way, Amber Lileystrom. Amber, I'm so excited you're here. Amber is a business mentor, author, and speaker who supports women in building businesses that are deeply aligned, self-led, and rooted in who they actually are. Her work weaves together identity, self trust, and the real inner work that allows women to stay in it, to keep going, and to create results that feel true to them. She is the host of Homeward, the Sovereign Business podcast, where she explores what it means to build a life and business that truly feels like home. And she brings such honesty to the conversation around what it actually takes to show up, to be seen, and to not collapse before the things we say we want. She is also a mother, a writer, and someone who brings so much heart and depth into the way that she leads and teaches. And Amber has said, if the dream is in you, it's for you. And years ago, she encouraged me to start a dream journal. I have it right here. Not a journal of the dreams that you have at night, but a journal for the dreams that you're here to live. And I have written in this journal almost every night, and that practice is something that I trace back to her. And in the beginning of it, it says, everything in this journal comes true. And at first, it took a lot of courage to start to write what I really wanted. And then it became really fun. And the evolution of it is really interesting because I get to look back and see what has come true, what hasn't come true, what I still want to bring into fruition, what's kind of evolved, what I no longer maybe care about as much anymore. So it's really fascinating. So first of all, I just want to thank you for that, Amber, because that's such a beautiful encouragement and way to mine, especially for midlife women, remembering who we are, remembering what we truly want, and maybe creating some new dreams as well.
Mm,
So I'm
mm.
curious for you, and this is not a planned question, but I'm just coming here now with this curiosity. Where did you come up with this idea for the Dream Journal?
It's so interesting. A year ago, I learned a journal practice from one of my mentors, my poetry teacher, Chelsea Diane, who said, create a journal that says, everything I write here comes true. And I have been doing this daily abundance practice and journaling thing for a really long time. And I've been talking about it that's independent of that. But then there's a coalesce of these things. And it's just like taking all the best things and sort of putting them all together. And so at night, I do this thing where I write down my three gratitudes from the day, my three wins, and then my three wins for the next day. So my three wins for tomorrow. And then I do this thing where I write, God is working on this while I'm asleep.
Mm.
And so there's just something really cool about that. I used to write, sometimes I write the universe, sometimes I write my subconscious mind. It just depends on the day. You're handing it over. I need to do that a lot because I have a tendency to try to hold the world. And so there's such a relief about laying there in bed and being like, God is handling this. Like, got it. The universe is on it while I'm asleep. And
Okay,
it
I have
just,
a question for you. When you
yeah.
said you have a tendency to hold the world,
Mm,
and therefore you are intentionally before sleep surrendering it to God,
yeah.
will you talk to me about the transition from, and I know we touched upon this in the really powerful story you shared the last time I interviewed you a little bit, was one of the catalysts for you was birthing.
Mm.
Was it that moment? Were there other moments along the way since then that have taught you to go from holding the world? Because so many of the women that are listening to this feel that. And then that is our work, is how do we surrender it? I'm really curious about that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. When do you remember when our first interview was, Siri? No.
I am not, I mean, we can look it up.
Threshold moments. No, that's not you. Oh, wait. Had found you on my other friend's
Wait.
podcast. I'm just so impressed with how prolific you are.
Oh, well, same to you.
Thanks. Yeah. You know, what
How
else
long,
would
how
we?
long have you had your podcast? 5 years? Oh, here it is. September 12th, 2020.
Okay. Got it. I've had my podcast since 2016.
Oh my God.
10 years. Yeah. This month in April.
Wow.
April.
Wow.
The
That's
10-year
insane.
anniversary. Yeah.
How many times have you rebranded?
I think five, four or five.
That's not a lot
No.
for that many years.
No, it's been very concrete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But now you just changed it recently to
Homeward.
homeward, yeah.
Yeah, and it feels really good.
Okay, so we were talking about women who hold the world
Got it.
and what it takes to surrender.
Okay. Yeah. So there have been a myriad of things. And even from the answer I probably would have given you in 2024, more has happened in life. I mean, the big thing since 2022, when we adopted our son, there just could not have been a constellation of events and people and hearts and timing that would have come together in such a way, and even heartbreak to make it so that Alex was our son on the day that he was born, the day that we were available. You couldn't write that. You couldn't dream that up if you tried in terms of the specificity of all of the ways that it aligned. And so that was a gigantic, like, took me to my knees, humbling
Uh-huh.
revelation that led me actually to get the word held tattooed on my wrist after
Oh my
when he was
gosh, can we
a year.
see?
Yeah, it's hard to see, but it's
Oh,
just
okay, it says
it says
held in
held.
cursive. Oh,
And then on, yeah, and I have my two kids' little stars right there too. So I got
that's so
all of that
precious.
about a year after he was born. That really changed the ground I stand on. Then I was able to, and I think this is one of the really beautiful things about these quantum leaps in consciousness and going through the transformational work is that then I could look back at every other relationship in my life and every other happening of my life backwards with this new frame of reference of everything is a miracle and see it with new eyes. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially, I could look at my entire life with a new frame of reference and
Hmm.
all the things that I had maybe put in different file folders of like trauma or tragedy or whatever. I worked for that. I earned that hard work, slogging, striving. I got to relook at everything. And so it has changed how I look at everything. It's changed how I think about business, how I think about sales, how I think about money. I mean, every single thing comes through a completely different lens. And often I just feel like I'm having a different conversation than 99% of the world.
Mm.
And it's part of the reason why I am the way that I am now and why I'm so focused on what I call right sized business
Mm-hmm.
and why I am not interested in building so much of what we're sort of sold on wanting to create.
Yeah, just
And
scale, 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 no matter
yeah,
what. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. It's been really, really beautiful and it's helped me root in and center on what's most important in life to me, in my estimation and definition of that.
Yeah, that's incredible. I am curious about the word destiny because previously I don't really feel that I had much of a relationship with it that I can say. And from what you're sharing about, what is your take on destiny? Because it sounds like there's a little bit of that looking back and recalibrating
Mm,
every memory that you've had in terms of who you were growing up, who you became as a mother, both times you became a mother, you recalibrated, and then who you are as a businesswoman and how you transmit in the world. And then, of course, right sizing is all about being sovereign. And I feel like it's all connected to destiny
mhm,
in a way of what is this meant to be? What is answering the call of this specific thing that's coming to fruition and not what does my ego want this thing to be in my business, this retreat to be, this workshop to be, this launch to be, but like what is in the stars. So
yeah.
what is destiny for you in relation to all those things?
What comes to mind is The Alchemist
Yeah.
book and the story of the alchemist and this personal legend and this idea that we sort of find our way back around and we come home. We come home to what always was meant to be and what we were meant to get, but we couldn't really perceive it without the journey. And I think that's actually the gift of getting to be alive. Terms like destiny are fun words. The dictionary definition is the predetermined, usually inevitable or irresistible course of events. And I I like it, but I don't know. Like I don't know enough. I'm too human to really understand the nature of predetermination. I do find myself to be humbled regularly and joyfully surprised at the way that things unfold. And yet I really enjoy the human aspect of getting to live in the mystery and the surprise of what a new day wants to bring.
Yeah, oh my gosh. As you're speaking, I'm realizing I don't believe in a set destiny because I believe in free will and I believe that we can update our what I call records, like Akashic records. I believe that we can
Mm.
update. So you have this incredible home office that you've crafted, this dream place on the lake, and you have these mini kind of retreat business sessions. Are you still doing those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As people want to do them for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a treehouse feel. And I'm
Hmm.
curious because I led 4 retreats last year. They were all different sizes. One of them was 12 women. And now I'm doing a retreat where I think it's going to be like 5 or 6 of us. And that's intentional. And I've been thinking about you. And I've been thinking about how you do these little treehouse kind of retreats, and that maybe that's just as, if not more, powerful because I don't necessarily, I've done some experimenting with collaborating and doing bigger things and holding these big women's panels, like 12 women every single month for the past like 2 years. It's
Hmm.
12 women. And now I'm like, maybe I want like 8 women. So the right size piece
Mm.
is like, actually, we could go deeper. I can be maybe more effective in my work.
Mm.
And what is really like not only destiny or God like ordaining for this, but also what does my nervous system want to hold? Coming back to the holding. And then of course, it's not my job to hold it. But
Right.
I'm just curious, as I'm kind of right sizing in this snapshot in time, what was that decision for you to have those smaller? Because, of course, you have these bigger events too. What does that do for you when you have these smaller experiences?
Yeah, I have some interesting perspective on this in this moment. What I have noticed, and I said this to a client earlier today, is that the women that I am coaching right now are all leaders and are visionaries of their families. They are holding the world. They are the world. I think that's the other important piece that we don't necessarily always name. I'm feeling it, especially right now with a 4-year-old and a 12-year-old, how my son is in a moment of intense mama attachment. And I'm the entire world to him. And that's the most sacred, beautiful thing on the face of the planet that I get to be that. Right. And so it's not just about we're holding the world, like we actually are the world. And that's real. And so I think that demand, however, is a lot. And we need a place to fall apart back together.
Yes. Oh my
And
gosh, I love that. Fall apart back together. Amber, where's that from? Is that you?
it's from a woman that I learned from that was a friend back in high school days. Her name's Emily Verrill.
Okay.
I would imagine if she even heard me say that, she'd be like, "What? That was such a thing." She said over a decade ago, but the term never left me.
Yeah.
And so it's this idea that we need to be able to come into space and fall apart. And the women that I coach are holding up the world and they are the world.
Mhm.
And they're creating a new world simultaneously. And this intersection of all of that is just so intense and there's so much pressure to it. And while they're doing it, they're typically doing it with old patterning and old coding as it relates to topics like money, relationship, and self. And so, and business, right? In
Mhm.
terms of like what the right way to do things is, quote unquote, right.
Mhm.
And so, my work has always been intimate. I've always done one to one coaching, I've always done small group and intimate forever. I've always run the range of it. I've hosted 500-person events, I've hosted 10-person retreat, I've done everything.
Mhm.
And the season that I'm in, when I say God use me every day, what is coming through is women needing more intimate, personal, private coaching
Mhm.
because they need a place. And this client that came in this morning, she said, "Oh my gosh, why do I just start crying the second I'm here?" And I'm like, because you're on the court with somebody who can return the ball and who understands everything that you're saying and can see you in 2.2 seconds or less and can actually hold with you in the truth of what you really want and what is not working for you in your life right now. And she was just like, "Yeah." And that's a huge honor and privilege to me to get to be a witness to people up close and personal. And I think the other piece, because I have done all of these things, I'm not aspiring to try to build, like, I
You're
don't
not trying to
care.
prove anything.
I am
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah.
Right size business to me is about scaling what matters most in your life. Now, for some people, that might be a multi-million dollar business. That might be their right sized.
Mm.
And the women that I tend to attract are the women that are coming in on sort of like the downside of the wave, where they're like, I have crested and I've done. And now I'm trying to figure out, how do I be the version of me that I am when there's a version of me that exists in the world that isn't actually who I am now? And how do I become congruent with that and build my life in a way that doesn't suck me dry, threaten me, actually allow me to live in the richness of my existence, because I actually understand now that there's more to life than just scoring every goal and being the queen bee.
Mhm.
And I love it. I have no judgment for wherever people are, because we are on our personal legend. We're all on our own journey, finding our way back home to ourselves. And I think it's a gigantic privilege to meet people out on the path wherever they are and walk them home to themselves.
Yeah, Homeward, that's the name of your podcast. Home is this recurring theme for you since I've known you. Where does that come from? Was that always a thing? Is that more recent? You've had your podcast for 10 years.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
insane. Has this always been a theme of coming home to yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, as long as I've been doing it. My earliest, you can watch my oldest brand video. At the end of it, it says, come home to who you really are. Come
Yeah.
home to your life. Come home to your bit. Like, it's always been home. That's been the theme at the root of it. My business is what made it possible for me to create this home that I live in, that is
Mm.
like my soul home.
Yeah.
And the extension beyond that is me being at home within myself. And I really think it's the and both. And I feel very at home in myself. Every year of my life, I get closer and closer and closer to being comfortable within myself. And I want to offer that to people, because I also have this ability to really see people. And this is an interesting thing. I've never said this in this way before. And almost like the proximity that they have to their truest self. Like, I can see how far from home they are.
Mm.
I can perceive that in a non-judgmental way, just in an observatory way, to say like, oh, she's kind of far from herself.
Yeah.
And I remember our friend Kathy Heller saying, Amber, you give people their life back. My extrapolation and interpretation, you could say, is like, oh, I just help them come home to themselves. I hope to help them
Yes.
come back to truth and to who they really are. And I think it's really important for us to leave home. We have to leave home so that we can actually have the homecoming journey.
Yeah. So it's interesting because what you're talking about, it sounds like collapsing identities that no longer fit, that are like energies that are kind of been pieced together through an amalgamation of nature and nurture and what we see and what we pick up and all these kind of programs, and sort of put together this identity. And in a way, you're saying is like, I'm breaking down these pieces with you, and we're kind of recalibrating and like recharging into the authentic you. And that can be like little deaths, and it can be scary. So, in terms of work that is a little bit confronting, a little bit scary, like the work that you and I do, where it's like you're gonna drop some stuff that's not serving you. How do you help women to kind of be, well, you can't help them be ready, they have to be ready, but how do you help them to want to be ready, to
Mm,
feel that they can be ready with you, to take that leap? How do you build that bridge with them?
yeah. Well, I think the bridge is the dream. And so I
Mm,
think that the way that the dream sort of comes in and won't leave you alone, like it lands on that page of the journal night after night after night. You just keep seeing it over and over again. And then you sometimes get curious and you go, but what's underneath that really? Like, I say that I want to have a $40,000 a month in my business, but why do I keep writing that down? Like, what does that actually mean to me? What is underneath that? What's the dream beneath the dream? And I think that the dream is the way that it comes back. And what I typically find is that it's women who want to live a fully expressed life. They want
Mm.
to enjoy their opportunity to be here. They want to slow down into their life and make more meaning and center the things they don't get a replay on and actually like really taste the juice of it and really be there with it. And I like that because it feels less threatening in a lot of ways than like, let's go work on your stuff, like this is going to hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, okay, we understand that there's going to have to be some bridges we cross over that might be a little rickety and scary to get to the other side. But I know how to do this. I know how to walk with you through this. It's not my first rodeo. And with all due respect, and I say this like, you're so special, but you're also not so special. It's like the Elizabeth Gilbert
Mm.
quote, your fear is the least original thing about you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love walking over that bridge with people and looking at their fear. And one of the things that I've discovered in the last, I'd say probably about 6 months, in a very concentrated way, I've developed this thing called the money codes method.
Yeah.
And it seems funny because it's like money codes, like that's so different from what you would talk about. Some people said to me, it's not very poetic, Amber. And I'm like, well, I have a pretty big range, I am a business mentor and can really throw down business and strategy and all of that stuff. And also I'm a poet. So you get all of these things together. I have a 22-year career in business and marketing and live events and human psychology and sales. So I've been out here for doing this.
And when you say the word codes, I think of spiritual kind of
Yes.
downloading, and I go,
Yes.
wow, okay, she's getting into that. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. The money codes method and process that I bring people through is looking at their adaptive safety security patterns very specifically in their lived experience and how it directly correlates to their biggest business challenges, which coincidentally are always connected to the result, which is money, right? So money is such a beautiful expander because it just is an effect. At the end of the day, money is just an effect. We are cause.
Yeah.
And getting to the underbelly of what those adaptive safety security patterns have established for you as it relates to the narrative you have about yourself and about what you can do in your business is it's like beyond mind blowing. And every person that comes through a money code session is like, when can we do more work? Because what happens is we highlight and spotlight exactly why their business is either stalling out, not working, keeping them stuck in this same flow. And then we crack it open and then we show them, okay, this is where all the illumination is. And the best thing is everybody's experience is different because we're all different and we all have a different story. Yet there are these sort of core archetypes that come up. And I actually have a quiz I created if you guys want to go see what your percentages are of your archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to amberlileystrom.com/money quiz. And there's a money quiz there to look at your money codes archetypes. And what then comes off of that is the connection point around how these patterns have kept you safe, but how they are now actually keeping your business from growing. And I'm like a mad scientist with it. It's really exciting to me, but it's like human science. It's like emotional mechanics, if you will. We're so original, yet we're less original than we realize when it comes back to this core theme of our fear. And it's been really fun to see my clients cracking this open, and then suddenly their business is having like a $50,000 week. Suddenly their business is doing all this nutty stuff that they never thought possible because they got to this thing that was the actual thing underneath the strategic challenges that they continued to spin out on.
Yeah. And so they also have to be willing and ready and able to receive that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm imagining that a lot of your work has to do with how women can actually receive what they say they're wanting.
Yeah. Capacity expanding. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's interesting. And so nervous system regulation, how does that come into play with it? Or breath work or these kinds of modalities where we're in the body, somatic work, like how does that interplay with being able to receive these dreams?
So there's a couple different things coming up with that. One, I saw this reel this morning that I think it was sort of humor, but maybe not. The woman was in jest saying, like, I would imagine that a man named it the nervous system.
Uh-huh.
Like, why is it called the nervous system? Why is it not called like the grounded system or
Mm-hmm.
like the root system?
Yeah.
Because can we go there? Because all like, let's look at what it looks like anatomically
It looks like a
anyway.
tree, right?
Just
Or a
saying.
brain.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's part one. Let's
I
just
love that.
contemplate that for a moment. And perhaps that's part one. And it's like how I feel with the women that I work with is that they have their own modalities for what they want to do. Every one of us is going to do that process that differently. What's astounding to me in the work that I'm doing with the money codes is that we keep it all like above water. I'm not asking you to go into meditation. I'm not asking you to do breath work. I'm not asking you to do any of that. We just talk facts. And the crazy part about it is there's twofold to it. One, the women that I work with are like, oh, that's actually way easier than I thought. And I didn't need to like go do all that stuff. Uh, and I'm like, okay. And two, what I've noticed is most of the women that I work with, this is kind of interesting. They would rather not do all of that body work stuff. I feel like that's its own other thing, partly because a lot of them are trauma survivors and they haven't felt super safe in their bodies.
Right.
And so I've been surprised by that, pleasantly surprised to see that the work is working at the conscious level, but then they take it and the encouragement is, okay, go on a walk with this. Go do breath work. Is that something you want to do? Take it to your yoga class, take it to wherever, do a visualization. And I have some of those pieces,
Yeah.
but it's like it's not requiring that in the ways that I think some of this transformational modality stuff does. Like we've had this in the past. It's like, it's actually helping them integrate it faster because they feel safe in the process of integrating it. I don't know how else to say that,
That's
but it's been
okay.
really
Yeah.
fascinating to me in realizing that a lot of the women that are going through, they're just like not needing to go do all of these other things. They're just like, oh, okay, wow, that's wild. I didn't realize that was there.
Yeah, and it also sounds like the type of women you were talking about earlier are women who've already kind of built a
Yeah.
peak. They've gotten to a peak of a mountain, and now they're like, what mountain size do I actually want? It's not
Yeah.
necessarily women that haven't had that experience yet of what they can do full out.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about identity and work. I'm always so curious how the women in the work shape each other over time. How do you feel your
Mm-hmm.
work has changed you as a woman in this season? This is a question about you, Amber, as a person, the person you've been becoming. We kind of touched on this when we started. How you're changing as a person, because you're so on your edge of evolution all the time as you're constantly changing. So now you're doing the money codes. Now we're calling it homeward. Now it's the word sovereign. How is this shaping your business in ways that maybe we haven't touched upon yet in the person you've become in the past since I've talked to you on the podcast?
Mm. Yeah, I don't think I'm trying to exclude any part of myself anymore. I'm bringing the whole of myself to it all. And yeah, and I think that there have been aspects or seasons where I felt like, man, there isn't, it's just like I don't fit in being this poet, business coach person. And I'm, and I'm just feeling this sense of coherence in the necessary dimensionality of all aspects of myself so that I can really see through my personal legend. The self-acceptance journey has just continued to expand in even more broad and big ways. And I've let go of so many of the different boxes I thought I needed to sort of put myself into. I've cut those tethers to things. I've just become less interested in so many of these old definitions that I thought I needed to have or do. And I've gotten really curious about what does it look like to let the work bloom, like catch wind, like grow of its own accord without me getting in the way of it.
Mm.
That's probably the biggest edge, if you will.
Yeah. It's like integrating all these various aspects of yourself as a mother, as a poet, as a businesswoman, and then now with the money codes. So,
Mm.
sovereignty and truth, you speak a lot now about sovereignty. So, what does it actually feel like in your body when you know you're in your truth versus when you're not? You said you can see when someone's far from themselves in their own
Mhm.
home, in their own body. Like, what is it for you so we can kind of understand better?
Yeah. I think these words full expression. And I also am very lovingly empathetic around the idea that that is a ever evolving term, right? In terms of what we have capacity for, what life is asking of us. If I think about a year ago, my mom has an autoimmune condition called cold agglutinin disease. And so she was going through some chemo and treatments, and I was there for all of her treatments. And I think about how last winter was a really hard winter. My mom can't really go out and be cold, kills off her red blood cells. And it's just, she lives in New England and she's no intention of moving. That is the choice that she's made, and that's her life. And I realized as a daughter how it affected me
Hmm.
and how it was like I had a harder winter. I felt colder last winter. And I also think about the way that our cells are literally in each other's bodies and the beauty of that, like forever, that connection forever is just, we could have a whole nother podcast just about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so being really honest with life in that season with my son, who was 2 turning 3, my daughter 11 turning 12, that version of myself who was coming out of a harder season. These last few years have been harder. I don't know how else to describe it. It's been intense. There's been a level of intensity. To your point, bringing up the word truth, when you're being honest, like when you're being honest with life and you're being intimate with life, you have to face all of the things. You have to face the heartbreaks. You have to face the realities of maybe some of the things that you were insulated from when you were not seeing with such clear eyes. And there's nothing like being met with the end of ends and beginnings all at once, like really playing the timeline all the way out that really brings you to clarity. My dad has Parkinson's and he's 81. My mom was dealing with this. I remember there was a
Wow.
day, the end of maybe early January of 2025, where my brother and I were both with my parents at different appointments. And my
Yeah.
parents are like extremely able bodied, extremely active people, like complete in denial of their ages. My
Yeah.
dad still goes skiing with his dog. He does cross country skiing with his husky dog, Coda, and goes downhill skiing, and his hands shake. And his body has changed a lot with this disease. And my mom's got her stuff that she's working, but she's tough as hell. And I mean, it's one day, like my brother's with my mom finding out if she has leukemia. And I'm with my dad getting updates about some stuff going on with his heart. It was so intense. It was such a hard, real human day. Like,
Mhm.
oh, it makes me emotional. Like my daughter self, my mother self, my like adult self, like, oh, I'm gonna live in a world without my parents. Woo. And then immediately I'm connected to every single adult child who's lived in the world without their parents, you know? It's like I can't help but cry about that because it's just so beautiful and so real and so, inevitable for all of us. Like
Yeah.
we're all going to go there, we're all going
Yeah.
to trade places. My parents went there. So I just like let myself just feel the ecstatic grief of all of that in the moment. And I'm just not trying to run away from it.
Mm. I love how you say ecstatic grief because it's really about being alive and not living half a life. And I feel that that's so much of what you stand for is playing full out. And that also means feeling full out.
Yeah.
And so when we are coming home to ourself, our true self, and everything is going to align from there, what I'm hearing is that you have to be with the heartbreak of life too
Right.
and be in the face of all of it. That's expanding our capacity. And when we say expanding our capacity to feel good on this podcast, it's not just about feeling good and having success. It's about being in the face of everything. And that is success because we're alive. And so I want to wrap up here, just coming back to money and worth, because
Mm.
I know that's a big part of your work right now. You've explored money in a very deep way. What has your relationship to receiving expanded into recently? So, beyond what you used
Mm.
to believe in terms of, and money, like you said, is almost like a side effect, really. It's like energy, and our biggest commodity is feeling fully alive, feeling
Mm.
present, feeling we have ownership of our time so we can be with our parents, so we can be with our children. So the relationship with money now with these money codes, is that about women not just like, yeah, let's just make more to make more. I don't think that's what you're about. It's like, no, let's expand so that you can be present to your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it's important to note that there's a cost that comes with everything.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
Okay.
like the more time I spend in this chair, then the less time I'm doing other things in my life that maybe I want to be doing. And so, what is that exquisite equation for you in your life? And some people might say, and they may very well believe it because that's their lived experience. I want to go and build this one to many thing and scale it as much as I can. And I never want to, da 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 da. And it's like, well, there's also a cost to that too. There's also other things that you have to navigate. And that's part of your exquisite equation. It doesn't matter ultimately what those factors are. What matters is you knowing what your equation is
Hmm.
and how your gift is meant to be activated in this lifetime. And I think that's another piece that we all have a different way. I am a true seer and person who can see a world for someone and can help them live into it. I'm really good at helping people create dramatic transformation in a very short period of time to completely live in a different paradigm of existence, in a different version of reality. And I love doing that with people. I love the liberation that comes from that experience for somebody who's like really ready to do that. And the way that I do that is different than the way maybe other people do what they do. And so there's just an acceptance of this is how I do it. And in the world that we live in the sort of physical 3D world, we have to land the plane in terms of how is money going to be translated. For some people, they do their artistry over here and then they go make money over here because that's
Hmm.
just an easier way for them to get the money that they need to do the way they want to do life. There's not a more noble profession than another. I think that's the other thing I really want to name because I think we have a very hierarchical approach, especially in this coaching world, that, well, it's better to do it like this and this person is more successful and I want to learn from them because I want that and yada, yada, yada. And I've been behind the scenes in so many different brands and businesses and models and people's worlds that it's like, that's really not the point. The point is Siri having a good day in her life? Is she enjoying where she is? Is she working towards something that lights her up every day?
Yeah.
Does she feel alive?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's really magnetic to me is a
Yeah.
person who's like really alive in their life. Because at the end of the day, it's a finite opportunity to be here in these bodies.
Yeah.
And so I want to make the most of it. And I also want to make the most money that I can, but I also want to toe the line on what that actually is in the equation. This is the part where it's like in integrity with me, with the way that I want to do my work at the highest level of service that I can offer. And you see how that's just not like a scale, scale, scale is the answer conversation.
Hmm.
If you really look at your art, your life as a fine art,
Yeah.
I love these conversations. I love getting to be intimate and close with people. That is art to me.
Yeah. And
I don't
speaking of
look
art,
down upon
Amber,
that.
I don't want to forget, I would like to hear one of your poems.
Yes.
So, we've talked about a lot of different things. We've talked about
Yes.
fear and pain and humanness and coming home. What calls to your heart to share
Yeah.
from your new poetry book?
To
What's the
them.
book called?
So this book is called Little Big Beautiful Things
Beautiful.
and Little Big Beautiful Things. This is my favorite poem from the whole book. And
Okay.
it's called All Right. He says the words, the ones you always ask him to say, infinity more times. When he scoops your son out of the lake, when you back the car into the garage door, when your tears seem like they'd never stop, when you're laying in that bed you made love in for the last time. And he was right. Everything was all right, even when it wasn't, because you were held by love, by God, by good hearts, doing all they could, always, always. You forgive yourself for real this time. You learn to love the sound of your own voice, the way your old hands hold your favorite mug, the way they learned how to make your mama's spanakopita, the way you never wanted to, so she'd be here forever. You cry every day at the loon returning to the pond in March, at your neighbor dropping off cucumbers from the garden, at how much you love your sweet pearl cat. You write the books, and it takes so much longer than you thought it would. You teach at the college again. You teach everywhere you go. You bring women home to themselves, to the truth, to their own love. You welcome your last baby against all odds. You grow beyond the bounds of the river of your dreams, and you spend 2 decades tending to them, treasuring tiny socks, waking before the sun, knowing one day you'll exhale in that silence, holding the same mug. You learn how to garden, and your plants become your next babies. You spend the cold months on that crystal beach with daily walks in the waves, letting letting the sun warm your tired bones. You're happy. You don't rush anymore, anywhere, ever. You trust your life and your dreams and your steady heart. You have everything you need. You do everything you ever wanted. You point your entire life towards love, and because of that, everything was all right.
I'm just a puddle over here. Gosh. What a legacy you're leaving with the mother that you are, the devotional mother that you are to your children, to your cats, the wife that you are to your husband, the home devoted person that you are, the person creating authentically from her soul, and the woman who is just like a razor sharp leader to other leaders. You're incredible, Amber, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you for sharing your heart today. That means so much to me. Thank you for your poetry. Thank you for your work in the world and for being an incredible daughter to your parents, for living a full life and showing us through your example and through how you lead, how we can wake up more and come home to ourselves more and be more authentic and be more creative and expand our capacity to feel good. Thank you.
Mm. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you so much and for the opportunity to cry with you.
Yeah, my favorite part of my day. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're
All
welcome.
right.
Thank you.
Well, guys, go ahead and find Amber on Instagram. You can find her on her website. Will you name those for us?
Yeah, amberlileystrom.com and Amber Lileystrom on Instagram. And I'm also on Substack, which is my new favorite world. So please come over there. I write over there. I'm actually starting to teach it because it is an amazing platform that I think we all need to be gifting to ourselves, frankly.
Yeah, people love Substack. Okay, well, guys, keep expanding your capacity to feel good one breath at a time. Loving you. I'm sure you got so much out of this, just like I did. We'll see you soon. Bye for now. Bye. Okay.